how important is it to figure out if you're using something that's a product of your DM's mind or something that's a published setting that exists outside of that?
Well, if you if you're a player who wants to play in a game that is verbatim written down somewhere from the publisher, that needs to be what you're going after when you look for a DM. You want a DM that is upfront telling you they're going to play strictly lore from the books. They're going to abide by everything that's written, and everything can be cross-checked. That's, I have found to be not for me. That's there's a lot of checking. There's a lot of information looking up that you gotta do, and people are going to do for you. But if you want to do that, that's the way you want to go. If you want it written down, published, you got to find a DM that's going to do that. Our players that are going to be okay with that, whereas it's going to be easier to find the players that are going to be cool with that, because there's probably not as many players that are going to be fact-checking what you're doing and just assume that it's going the right way. Now, on the other end, if you are going to be in just 100% homebrew world, your players need to know that, because that kind of throws out the expectations of what they've read in books, in any book. Because if it's all homebrew, it's not written anywhere. They have to be okay with all of this. Yeah, they have to be okay with all of this stuff being new and being different and being nothing that they can reference anywhere. That is a little more difficult on the finding the players part, because I feel like there's going to be a few less players out there that are going to be willing to subject themselves to 100% homebrew rules and monsters. And then in the middle, that's where you get into the mixing, where you pick a setting that's written, but you change things. So, for instance, my setting of choice is Faerun, Sword Coast. My players know that this is the setting I'm using, but that a lot of the stuff is going to be different. I'm going to be using a lot of the established
stuff or whatever.
Yeah, but you're able to change things. Right. And they understand that, hey, you can't go look this person up and expect to see the same thing as what I'm telling you.
It's like a mirror, alternate reality version of Faerun or something, where things are slightly different or whatever. I think that's probably your if you're using an established setting, I think that's the way to go. I rarely do anymore, because I hate not being the one who knows the most about the setting. And I would rather have a question posed to me that I can think about for half a second and then pull an answer out of my ass that I just made up, that I know they can't go fact check me on because it wasn't a fact 30 seconds ago, rather than to sit there and say, oh crap, like that's an extant fact that I need to now go find and like determine what, what's the truth in the published setting. Again, it's okay to do either. I tend toward homebrew because I prefer to be an expert and know better than, nobody can tell me anything and expect that they have some sort of more authority over what exists in the world than I do. I've been the player who's frequently brought up that problem detail that the DM didn't remember from his read through of the the Drist books or whatever, and oh well, that causes a conflict with this person in this group, and now all of this is weird or something. That stuff is a problem for me sometimes when I'm using established settings, so I try to avoid it. But if you're the kind of DM who prefers to be able to fall back on a real set of details and stuff, then good for you, and do that. I guess as long as your players are understanding that maybe it's not going to be 100% accurate every to the published details or whatever every single time. Then there's no harm in that. Everybody can have a good time with that. Yeah.
I think the main thing, it boils down to consistency. If you make a statement of this is how something works, that's what you have to abide by. In the future, if you say something different and somebody brings it up, hey, you said this before. Well, you've established that that's what the rule is. You need to abide by that. Consistency is key. Whether it's rules as written or homebrew, what you establish has got to be consistent.
I agree, absolutely. If what worked last session or what made sense last session doesn't make sense this session or doesn't work this session, your players will be frustrated with you, and probably rightfully so.
Exactly.